Hi guys, Aoshi here and welcome to another episode of The Pilot Mindset. Today's episode is one that has been in the works for quite some time, as raid mobile suits in Gundam Battle Operation 2 come in various shapes and configurations. To add into the complexity of the role, raid mobile suits tend to have more melee options or the means of accommodating aggressive play, so long as the opportunity presents itself. While the player base will have different opinions and perspectives on the topic, these are my top 10 raid type mobile suits for beginners in Gundam Battle Operation 2. Starting off our list is the RGM-79F GM Ground F type, a 250 to 350 cost raid suit. This is an up-armored GM that was modified for ground combat within Earth-based locations that Zeon had dug into and would eventually lead to the development of the Desert GM. This particular raid has decent mobility for being a one-year war mobile suit and acquiring some buffs in high-speed movement that allow it to keep up with newer suits at the same cost. While the suit lacks damage output in the both ranged and melee categories, its piercing and hard stagger capable railgun and consistent Federation-style melee swings allow players to get comfortable in learning how to be an effective raid and have some level of self-sufficiency. Coming in at number 9 is the MS-14F GELGOOG Marine. This is a 400 to 500 cost GELGOOG that was developed from the MS-14B GELGOOG high mobility type and would even rival the performance of the MS-14JG GELGOOG Jaeger. As a newer pilot, you get the level 1 400 cost version of the suit by completing the specific tutorial mission that Titan Begin has listed under Intermediate Raid MS Battle Simulation Space. This particular raid is able to use the classic GELGOOG beam rifle or the MMP-80GN machine gun as their primary. Most folks will tend to flock to the MMP-80 due to its ease of use and fast reload, and under-barreled grenade launcher for a dedicated stun. However, the trade-off is a much shorter effective range and long reload time for the grenade launcher. The beam rifle, on the other hand, does require 4.5 seconds to go from charge to stun, but does possess a more consistent level of damage in the long run. Rounding out the weapons, the GELGOOG Marine also has a unique saber swing that can be described as the reverse Federation swing animation, therefore will help with consistent follow-ups on enemies that are stunned or downed. Number 8 is a Principality of Zeon mobile suit that has origins in the aquatic field of specialty. The MSN-04N AGGUGUY is a 250 to 400 cost raid mobile suit that relies on a mixture of skills and finesse to effectively take out its opposition. While it may lack in terms of speed, a lower stealth rating, and a larger silhouette, it makes up with the long reach of its multi-heat rod attack, able to catch multiple targets with the range, as well as trip up enemies with a similar heat rod attack found with the likes of the GBO2 Custom. While it does possess Vulcan's the pressure and follow up from a somewhat safe distance, the AGGUGUY is one of those suits that do well at close range. A simple melee pattern that does well in a linear sense, but doesn't fare well if a target is below or above them. Therefore, take care when engaging with the AGGUGUY's multi-heat rod melee. Coming in at number 7 is another Principality of Zeon CQB type mobile suit. The MS-08TX EFREET DS, or Doug Schneid, much like its general purpose brother, utilizes either a giant bazooka or shotgun as its primary ranged weapon, but significantly differs with the utilization of the long-reaching heat lance. This weapon will instantaneously knock down anyone who gets hit by it, even on a side or neutral swing. Despite it being somewhat outshined by newer suits, the EFREET DS also has pseudo-stealth with the smoke dispenser, hiding from mole suits from radar for precious seconds in order to get close to its prey. The biggest thing about the EFREET DS is that its melee has a long-reach hitbox, therefore can potentially pose a problem for retreating supports, as well as careless generals that underestimate this suit. Number 6 is a suit that was once a limited Halloween suit back in 2020. The RX-80PR-3 Pale Rider Dullahun is a 400 to 450 cost raid that essentially is a restored Pale Rider cavalry unit without its Hades module installed. Possessing a heat lance found on the G-Line Assault mobile suit, as well as the Guardian Shield from the GM Guard Custom, the Dullahun is easily defined as a melee-focused mobile suit. Able to use a hyper beam rifle or hyper bazooka as its main primary weapon, the Dullahun has the means of some limited mid-light poking. However, since it possesses such a uniquely large shield, its walking capabilities are slightly hampered, but makes up for it through its high-speed movement. Number 5 is a mobile suit that players can easily get through finishing Raid Mobile Suit Battle Simulation Ground Tutorial under an immediate tab. The RX-81LA G-Line Light Armor is a 400 to 550 cost raid type that sacrifices range defenses in favor of lightness and speed. Possessing Maneuver Armor 2 and an Invasion role, the G-Line Light has a bit more range options to help work its way to enemy support. While it needs charging to stun, the beam rifle that comes with the G-Line Light when compared to that of the G-Line Standard has more effective range, which in turn allows pilots to pursue or engage targets at the midline distance and range overlaps with the shoulder missile launchers that the G-Line can utilize while boosting. The biggest blemish that the G-Line Light possesses that people will have to bear in mind is that in addition to the low beam and ballistic resistances the suit has, the G-Line Light also has a lower HP pool and limited HP on its shield to keep it alive. If one is able to adjust for those properties, there's no doubt that the G-Line Light can be effective in the field. Number 4 is an old workhorse for some of the veterans of GBO2 that still persists today. I'm talking about the RX-78-3 G3 Gundam, the testbed of magnetic coating that would eventually roll out to the RX-78-2 in its final sortie at the end of Mobile Suit Gundam. The G3 Gundam is a native 450 to 650 type mobile suit that excels in mid-line engagements between its dual-wielding hyper bazookas and a sub-weapon version of the Gundam's beam rifle. In addition, the G3 Gundam has Vulcans for pursuit situations and the familiar Federation Saber Swing animation. All in all, the G3 Gundam has the tools to set itself up for success and allow it to contribute to the team's push should the situation warrant it. Coming in at number 3 is the RX-78-5 Gundam Unit 5 BST. This particular native 500 cost raid is the upgraded version of the G05 Gundam Unit 5 and would feature increased maneuverability, upgraded resistances, and a heavy leaning towards melee combat. While it still maintains much of the same weaponry found on the standard configuration of the G05, the G05 BST utilizes dual sabers in melee combat, making it one of the harder-hitting, non-heavy attack type mole suits at its cost. Additionally, like its standard configuration, the G05 BST still retains its Maneuver Armor 2 and Emergency Evasion System skills, making it a very user-friendly and consistent mid-cost raid mobile suit. Number 2 is a familiar face in the form of the MSN 00100 Type 100 HYAKU SHIKI. This 550 cost native raid recently had some buffs added in May of 2023 that enhanced its movement across the board, durability, as well as offensive properties in the form of new Vulcans and more lethal melee attacks. Despite its overhaul, the HYAKU SHIKI relies on speed and its MA2 to be able to close in and put pressure on the enemy support. With the kit that it has, it is also fairly simplistic and easy to pick up and learn with it, as it can use either the clay bazooka or beam rifle as its primary stun. Additionally, the HYAKU SHIKI's melee is strong enough to help mitigate the damage disadvantage if it needs to engage generals as well. One thing to note is that the HYAKU SHIKI already boasts a high level of beam resistance, which makes building the suit that much easier. At the top of the list is the RGM-86R GM3 Close Combat. This 450 cost native raid type mobile suit is one of the very first mobile suits to get a heavy attack in Gundam Battle Operation 2. Despite its kit heavily leaning into melee, the GM3CC has a primary stun in the form of the GM3 beam rifle, or Hyper Bazooka as the recommended choice. Both are very viable and good choices with their own advantages and disadvantages. While I can utilize the GM rifle that is shared with the GM Custom and the GM Quell, the lack of instant stun and a timely build stun factor when using this certainly limits your engagement options. With it being melee focused, the GM3CC comes with 2 melee options, one being in the form of the Beam Javelin as its sub-weapon melee and the source of its heavy attack. The first and primary means of melee for the GM3CC is the twin beam sabers, and reliable means of catching enemies at angles that the Javelin does not. With that, this concludes my list of the top 10 raid type mobile suits for beginners for the pilot mindset. As stated before, there will be differences in opinions and ideas regarding what is best to learn, but the more important aspect is what you feel is right for you to take the plunge as being the better raid player. Additionally, it will also depend on what you have access to in your hangar, as well as supporting custom parts to help give you a better playing experience. All in all, I hope you found the video educational and informative, and definitely look forward to seeing you all on the battlefield. Take care.